I said this was one person's journey. I have to say I've spent a good deal of the time during the work of the Commission and afterwards feeling like a fraud. I've been going around the world showing pictures like this and saying, what good does it do to treat people's illnesses than send them back to the conditions that made them sick? But I don't know anything. What do I know about what it means to lead lives like that? I don't actually feel that I have it from the inside, and that's why I feel like a fraud. And there was a phrase from Borges, the Argentinian writer, that in a way I felt saved my soul. Borges said, "My humanity is in feeling we're all voices of the same poverty." No, I don't know what it's like to live in a shanty town and to have no opportunities at all and to watch my children starve. But if those of us who have the privilege of living in rich countries are going to have any sort of empathy, whether it's with the disadvantaged in our own societies or with the poor and disadvantaged in low and middle income countries, somehow our humanity has to rest on feeling we're all voices of the same poverty. So we go to Kenya and we meet the president, and that somehow doesn't feel to me real. And then we go to Kibera, the shanty town with 600,000 people living in conditions like this in the center of Nairobi, where it costs more to buy a litre of water than it does in London. And we met these wonderful children in the Olympic school in Kibera. In Kenya's last two budgets, they allocated $350 million more to debt relief than they did to education. Chillingly, this school that we visited, in the aftermath of the civil unrest that followed the last election, was burnt to the ground. Since starting to do the commission, I've developed an eye problem. We had a meeting in Vancouver in 2007, and we met on a Saturday afternoon with a group of Canadian colleagues. And there we were, it was about 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening, and clearly nobody wanted this meeting to end. There was such energy and empathy and commitment. And I thought, get a life, chaps. I mean, let's stop. So finally, I drew the meeting to a close. And Pascal Mukumbi, former Prime Minister of Mozambique, said, "I haven't felt so energized since my country got independence." And my eye problem started to develop. And then when we went to the favelas in Rio de Janeiro, and saw what they were doing with the young people, the adolescents, of actually giving them hope and meaning. And again, I developed this eye problem. And our commissioner from India, Mirai Chatterjee, one of the leaders of the Self-Employed Women's Association, that was putting empowerment into action. And just one aspect of what they were doing with the poorest, most marginalized women in India. And this is the Self-Employed Women's Association, is essentially a trade union and a cooperative. And this so-called Parivartan program, which was improving the basic physical infrastructure within slums and in homes, community development, city-level organization. In Seva, they asked these women living in shanties, what do you want? Would you like to be moved to concrete blocks in some other part of the city? Absolutely not. We want to stay where we are. but we quite like clean running water. And we wouldn't mind a bathroom and somewhere to cook. For $500 per household, they did it. The women themselves had to contribute $50, which is huge if you're living on $1 or $2 a day. And following the investment in these slums, there was improvement in health. There was a decline in waterborne diseases. Children started going to school. Women no longer had to wait in long lines to get water. This is what it looked like in one area before, and this is what it looked like afterwards. And again, I found this water on the eye problem. And I realized that what actually moves me is not the tales of corruption, not the tales of devastation. What moves me are the examples of making things better in a harsh, forbidding world. And I want to finish on a personal note. I asked you to remember that phrase. I was asked to address the opening session of the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations in July this year, the Palais des Nations in Geneva. And so that was good, that they wanted to hear about the Commission on Social Determinants of Health. But even better, this phrase came from the Secretary General, from Ban Ki-moon. Ban Ki-moon said, "Yet inequities in health outcomes persist within and among countries. Most of the difference is attributable to the conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age." And the next day I was chairing a session of ECOSOC, and I said to the president of ECOSOC, "Do you think Ban Ki-moon knew that he was quoting from our report?" And she said, "That phrase is out there. I'm hearing it from all over." And I repeated to my fellow commissioners what I said after the WHO executive board met, that I went home and at the family dinner table I said, well, it's really pretty nice that the UN has now embraced this, but I wonder if one single person's health will improve because the UN has embraced it. And my 17-year-old daughter said, "Daddy, even a baby step is a step." So maybe we've taken a baby step to a world where social justice is taken seriously. Thank you.